Picture this. You spend your hard-earned money paving a rugged dirt track to your family farm, turning it from a muddy mess into a smooth lifeline for your livelihood. Then, your HOA swoops in, claims it's theirs, installs a locked gate, and starts treating it like their private toll road, fining you to use what you built. This wasn't just theft. It was a power play that locked me out of my own land, endangered my animals, and pushed my family to the brink. I tried diplomacy, I tried the law, but nothing budged them. So I crafted a plan, a trap so clever, so backed by evidence, that it unraveled their whole scheme and gave me back control. Hang on, because this tale of battling HOA overreach will have you cheering for the little guy. You won't believe the twist that brought them down. My name's Jack Harlan, and in the spring of 2022, I inherited a 15-acre farm on the edge of Willow Bend Estates in rural Texas, just outside Austin. The land had been my grandfather's, a stubborn old man who tilled the soil until his 80s, passed to my father, who added the barn and expanded the fields, and then to me after Dad's sudden heart attack the year before. It wasn't a glamorous place. The farmhouse was a single-story ranch-style home with creaky floors and a kitchen that still had the original 1970s cabinets. The barn was red, but faded, housing 8 dairy cows that provided milk for local markets, a few chickens scratching in the dirt for eggs, and a tractor that rumbled like it was on its last leg. The fields grew corn in the hot Texas summers, turning golden under the sun, and hay in the fall, which I sold to nearby ranches. My wife Maria, a nurse at the local clinic, helped with the bookkeeping, and our kids, Tommy at 10 and Lily at 8, loved feeding the animals and riding the old pony we kept for fun. The farm wasn't making us wealthy. We scraped by with the milk sales and Maria's salary, but it was our anchor, a piece of family history in a state where urban sprawl was swallowing up land like a hungry beast. The biggest headache was the access road. It was a half-mile stretch of dirt from the main highway, winding through the farm's edge to the house and barn. Every Texas rainstorm, those sudden, fierce downpours that come out of nowhere, turned it into a slippery quagmire, stranding delivery trucks, making vet visits a gamble, and ruining my tires on the rocky ruts. I'd lost count of the times I'd hooked the tractor to pull out a stuck vehicle, or had to cancel market trips because the path was impassable. One winter, a storm flooded it so bad that Maria had to walk the kids to the school bus stop, their shoes caked in mud. "We can't keep living like this," she said one evening as we sat on the porch watching the sunset over the fields. I agreed. So I started saving, skipping family outings, repairing equipment myself instead of hiring help, and even taking on odd jobs in town to build up the fund. It took 2 years, but I had $12,000 set aside for the paving project. I did my homework. I got quotes from 3 contractors, choosing Raul, a local guy with a solid reputation who'd paved roads for the county. We pulled permits from Travis County, easy enough since the road was entirely on my property. I had a surveyor come out to confirm the boundaries. The report was clear. No easements, no right-of-way for the neighborhood, no HOA involvement. The Willow Bend Association managed the suburban lots at the front of the estates. Things like the community park, street lights, and pool. But my farm was grandfathered in as agricultural land, exempt from most of their rules. "You're good to go," the surveyor said, handing me the certified map. The paving began in May, under the blazing Texas sun. Raul's crew arrived at dawn, clearing the old dirt path with bulldozers, digging out the soft spots, and laying a thick gravel base for drainage to prevent cracking in the heat. The smell of hot tar filled the air, mixing with the scent of fresh hay from the fields as they poured the asphalt in sections. I watched from the porch, coffee in hand, as the steamroller smoothed the blacktop, turning the bumpy track into a smooth, 12-foot wide ribbon with gravel shoulders for stability. The kids watched wide-eyed, asking questions like, "Daddy, will it be like a racetrack?" I helped where I could, hauling materials and keeping the cows away from the work zone to avoid accidents. Maria brought lunches for the crew, sandwiches and iced tea to beat the heat. By the end of 2 weeks, it was done. A professional job that looked like it belonged on a highway, complete with reflective stripes for night visibility. The first drive was magic. The truck glided without a jolt, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Maria cooked a celebration dinner that night. Steak from one of our cows, corn on the cob, and apple pie. "This is our future," she said, squeezing my hand. Tommy and Lily raced up and down the new road on their bikes, laughing as the smooth surface let them speed without falling. For a few glorious weeks, life was better. Deliveries came on time, the vet could reach the barn easily without his truck getting stuck, and I even got better prices at the market because I could haul more produce without worrying about the road damaging the load. The cows seemed happier too, grazing peacefully without the constant ruts shaking the ground. But then, the cars started appearing. At first, it was one neighbor's pickup, taking a shortcut from the subdivision to the highway. No harm, I thought. Small town courtesy. Then a minivan. Then a sedan. The road was convenient, shaving 5 minutes off the main route through the neighborhood. I noticed dust from the gravel shoulders blowing into my cornfields, coating the leaves and potentially reducing the harvest. The cows got spooked by the unexpected noise, clustering at the fence and mooing nervously. One evening, a speeding SUV nearly clipped Tommy as he biked home from playing baseball with friends. That was enough. I bought a metal sign from the hardware store saying, "Private road, no through traffic," and bolted it to a post at the entrance right where the pavement started. The letter arrived a week later, tucked in my mailbox like an unwelcomed guest. It was from the HOA, on crisp letterhead with the Willow Bend logo, claiming the road was part of the community's historical access route and demanding I remove the sign or face a $50 fine for obstructing common areas. I stared at it in the kitchen, the paper crinkling in my hand. "What the hell?" I muttered. Maria read it over my shoulder. "They're joking, right?" The HOA had always been distant. They sent annual dues notices for the park and lights, which I paid, but my farm was outside their core jurisdiction. I called the president, Bill Reynolds, a retired real estate developer in his 60s with a perpetual tan from golfing and a voice that boomed like he was always giving a speech. "Jack, that road's been used by folks for years," Bill said, interrupting my explanation before I could finish. "Your grandpa let people through all the time. Now that you've improved it with paving, we're considering it a community asset." I argued that it was my land, my money, my deed. I had the survey to prove it. "Send me those documents," he said dismissively. "We'll review it the next board meeting. In the meantime, open it for everyone. It's good for the neighborhood." I emailed the survey, permits, and deed that afternoon, but got no reply. Meanwhile, the sign was ignored and cars kept coming, now with a sense of entitlement, as if the letter had given them permission. Maria and I discussed it over dinner, the kids playing outside on the new road. "They're bluffing," I said, trying to sound confident. "The deed is ironclad." She frowned, stirring her coffee. "Be careful, Jack. I've heard stories from patients about HOAs. They can make life hell with fines and liens." She was right. A friend in town had lost his garage over a paint color dispute. But I wasn't worried yet. To deter the traffic, I installed a simple chain across the road at night with a padlock, opening it only for my use or deliveries. That seemed to work for a few days. Cars turned around and the fields got a break. The next morning, the chain was cut,
Bolt cutters had snipped it clean, the pieces lying in the dirt like broken promises. I called the sheriff's office, and Deputy Ramirez came out, taking photos and a statement. "Looks like vandalism," he said, scratching his head. "But without witnesses or cameras, it's hard to pin on anyone. Get some surveillance." "It was civil, not criminal," he explained. "The HOA's claim muddied the waters. I spent $100 on a trail camera from Amazon, mounting it in a tree overlooking the entrance, camouflaged with leaves. That night, it caught a figure in a hoodie, face hidden, cutting the new chain I'd put up. The timestamp was 2:15 a.m., and a truck matching Bill's drove by shortly after, but the plate was blurry. The fines started rolling in like thunderclouds. First, $100 for non-compliance with community access rules. Then, $150 for failure to maintain the road for shared use. The letters came certified mail with threats of liens if unpaid. I paid the first to avoid escalation, but it burned. That money could have bought feed for the cows. Maria was furious. She said, "This is extortion." She slammed the letter on the table. Our savings were dwindling, and the farm's profits were slim with the ongoing drought. I attended my first full HOA meeting that month, driving the long way around to avoid the road drama. The office was a small, air-conditioned building near the community park, with plastic folding chairs and a humming ceiling fan fighting the Texas heat. About 20 homeowners were there, chatting about landscaping rules and pool hours. Bill presided at a table, Diane taking meticulous notes beside him. When open comments opened, I stood, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "This road is private property," I said, holding up my deed and survey. "I paved it with my own money. Stop using it as a shortcut and fining me for it." The room went quiet. Bill nodded politely, but his eyes were cold. "Jack, we're aware. Our records show historical use by the community. We'll need time to verify your documents." Diane added, "The board will discuss and get back to you." A few neighbors whispered, but no one spoke up. The meeting moved on to complaints about unapproved mailboxes. As I left, Bill pulled me aside in the parking lot, his breath smelling of coffee. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Jack. Open the road and the fines disappear. It's for the good of the neighborhood." I shook my head. "It's my land, Bill. You can't take it." He smiled, patting my shoulder like we were buddies. "See you at the next meeting." I didn't back down. Instead, I called Tom, my lawyer friend, who specialized in property disputes. We met at a diner in Austin where he reviewed my documents over burgers. "Sounds like they're trying for prescriptive easement," he said, wiping mustard from his mouth. "Claiming long-term public use makes it theirs. But in Texas, it requires 10 years of adverse hostile use, not just friendly shortcuts. Your paving resets the clock because it's a major improvement." He advised getting a title search to check for any hidden covenants or old agreements. It cost $500, but the report came back clean. No HOA rights over my road, no historical easements. The gate appeared 2 days after the report arrived. I came home from selling milk at the market to find a crew drilling posts for a metal gate at the road's entrance. It was heavy-duty, electronic with a keypad, and Willow Bend HOA, authorized access only, painted in bold letters. The foreman, a sweaty guy in a hard hat, showed me the work order signed by Bill. "They said it's their property now," he said, shrugging. I called Bill on the spot, my voice shaking with anger. "This is trespassing. Get them off my land." He chuckled over the phone. "Jack, the board approved it for security reasons. We'll give you a code to use it. It's to prevent unauthorized traffic. You should thank us." I demanded they stop, but the crew finished by evening, the gate standing like a sentinel, blocking my view of the fields. That gate was the last straw. To reach the barn, I had to punch in the code Bill texted me, which worked sporadically, or park on the highway and walk a half mile with tools or feed. Neighbors got codes too, and the traffic surged, as if the gate gave them official permission. My cornfields got tire marks from veering cars, reducing the harvest. One cow broke its leg stepping in a rut left by a truck, costing $400 in vet bills. The HOA billed me $50 for road maintenance, even though I had paved it. The fines climbed to $600. Maria was at her breaking point. "Jack, this could ruin us," she said one night, her eyes red from worry. The kids asked why we couldn't drive home normally anymore, and I had no good answer. I started a detailed log, dates, times, vehicles using the road, damage photos. The trail camera caught Bill's truck multiple times, and Diane's car once, inspecting like it was hers. I talked to Mrs. Ellis, the old neighbor whose husband had farmed next door. "Bill's been pushing to develop the area," she said over tea on her porch. "Your farm's in his way. He wants that road for new lots." She gave me old HOA minutes from the 90s showing no mention of my road as community property. Another neighbor, Raul, the contractor, apologized for not warning me. He'd paved for the HOA before and knew Bill was shady with payments. By fall, I was ready to fight. Tom helped draft a cease and desist letter demanding the gate's removal and threatening suit for trespass and theft. I sent it certified with copies to the board. Bill ignored it, but the fine stopped for a week, a small victory. I knew I needed allies. The HOA had power because people stayed quiet. I started a group chat with Mrs. Ellis, Raul, and a few others, calling it Farm Road Fighters. We planned to challenge at the next meeting, gathering more evidence. The gate wasn't just metal, it was a symbol of how the HOA thought they could take what wasn't theirs. But I had a plan brewing, one that would use their own rules and greed against them, exposing the corruption and reclaiming my road. The cease and desist letter got me a response. Another fine, $250 for legal harassment. Bill's email was smug. "The board has determined the road is subject to HOA jurisdiction due to historical use and improvements benefiting the community." They attached a resolution from a closed board meeting claiming prescriptive easement. Tom laughed when I showed him over coffee at the diner. "This is bogus," he said, flipping through the pages. "Texas law requires 10 years of continuous adverse use for an easement, not just casual shortcuts with permission. Your paving resets the clock because it's a major relation." He advised filing a quiet title suit to officially confirm ownership and block their claim. But that would cost $5,000 in court fees and time, money we didn't have with the farm's slim margins. Meanwhile, the gate became a daily torment. Every morning, I'd approach the keypad, punch in the code Bill texted me, and pray it worked. Half the time, it flashed invalid, forcing me to call him or Diane, who took their sweet time responding. "Technical issue," Bill would say, his voice dripping with false sympathy. One night, during a fierce Texas storm, lightning cracking the sky and rain pounding like bullets, the gate locked me out while Maria was home alone with the kids. I parked on the highway shoulder, grabbed a raincoat, and walked half a mile in the downpour, my boots sinking in mud. When I got home, soaking wet and fuming, Maria met me at the door with a towel. "This is ridiculous, Jack. What if there's an emergency?" The next day, a feed delivery truck couldn't get in, and the hay sat in the rain, spoiling and costing me $200 to replace. The cows were stressed from the constant traffic noise. Milk production dropped 20%, hitting our income hard. I upgraded my trail camera to a 4K model with motion alerts and night vision, mounting a second one hidden in a bush for better coverage. The footage was damning. 50 clips of unauthorized use, including Bill's truck 10 times, often with golf clubs in the back, as if he was going to the course. One clip showed Diane's car pulling up, her getting out to photograph the road and my fields, perhaps gathering evidence for their claim. Another captured a teenager riding on a motorcycle, nearly hitting a cow that had wandered close to the fence. I saved everything to a cloud drive, time-stamped and organized, building my case like a detective in a movie. "This is gold," Tom said when I showed him. "Proof of trespass and damage."
At the next HOA meeting, I brought Tom as my advisor. The room was fuller than before, 25 people, word of the dispute spreading like wildfire in dry grass. Bill opened with routine business, but the air was thick with tension. During open comments, I stood, my voice steady despite the sweat trickling down my back from the stuffy room. "The gate is illegal trespass on my property," I said, projecting the survey map on a borrowed screen. "Here's the title search. No easement. Remove it now." I played clips of trespassing, highlighted the budgets with Reynolds consulting payments. Bill's company got paid. Conflict of interest. The crowd murmured. Diane interrupted. "This is irrelevant." But Mr. Gomez stood. "I've got fines for nothing." Moore spoke up. Bill banged the gavel.
vote to dismiss. It failed 18 to 22. They agreed to review the gate. After, Bill cornered me. You'll regret this. The next day, my fields were vandalized. Fence cut, cows loose. The camera caught a masked figure, truck like Bill's. I reported it, and the deputy patrolled more. Maria was terrified. Jack, stop, it's too dangerous. But I couldn't. The AG accelerated the audit with our evidence. I set the trap, spread a rumor I was selling, baiting Bill to offer again. He emailed a lowball bid, proof of motive. At the audit hearing, we'd expose it all. The gate's impact rippled through our daily life like a stone in a pond. Every task became a battle. Feeding the cows meant unlocking the gate if the code worked, or hauling buckets by foot from the highway. The kids' school bus couldn't turn around, so they walked the half-mile, coming home dusty and tired. Maria's nursing shifts left her worried about emergencies. What if the code fails when I'm alone? She asked. The farm's output suffered. Milk from the stressed cows was down, corn yields low from dust and trampled plants. We cut corners, no new clothes for the kids, no date nights to cover the fines, now at $1,200. The trail cameras captured it all. 80 clips now, showing neighbors punching codes, Bill's truck with development blueprints in the cab, Diane's car circling like a shark. One night, the floodlight caught a vandal spray painting HOA property on my sign. The face was masked, but the truck matched a board member's. I added it to the log, my evidence folder bulging. Tom suggested requesting full HOA records under Texas Business Organizations Code, which requires transparency for homeowners associations. I sent a certified letter asking for all budgets, meeting minutes, and easement documents from the last 5 years. They dragged their feet, but eventually complied with a 300-page PDF. I spent nights poring over it with a highlighter, Maria bringing me coffee. What I found was explosive. The easement vote was in a closed session without proper notice, violating bylaws. The budget showed $20,000 in infrastructure, with $5,000 to Reynolds Consulting for planning services. No bids, no approval, just Bill's signature. We also discovered a pattern of selective fines. Critics of the board paid more for minor issues, while Bill's friends got waivers. This is fraud, Tom said. Report it to the AG. I updated my complaint with the new details, and they responded faster, opening a preliminary audit. The sheriff's office got involved more. Deputy Ramirez interviewed Bill about the vandalism, and while no charges stuck, Bill's defensive responses were noted. He's nervous, the deputy said. Keep documenting. The farm road fighters grew to 18. Mr. Gomez's brother joined, fined for his fence. We met in rotation, my barn, Mrs. Ellis's living room, to avoid suspicion. Bill's planning to subdivide land near your farm, Raul revealed, showing a county filing he'd found. He needs your road for access to new lots. That explained the greed. We refined the petition, adding demands for a financial audit and board recall. Door to door, I showed the clips and budgets. They're stealing from us all. Some slammed doors, but others signed. The Martins, a young couple fined for holiday lights, became key allies. Diane's a bully, Mrs. Martin said. A setback hit hard. The HOA revoked my code completely, claiming non-payment to fees. I was fully locked out, parking on the highway and trekking with tools. One day, a buyer from my hay couldn't get in and canceled the order, costing $500. Maria broke down. Jack, this is dangerous. What if the cows need help at night? I felt guilty, but the fire in me burned hotter. I tightened the trap, used the petition to force a special meeting, present the evidence publicly, and bait Bill into admitting the conflict on record. I bought a discreet audio recorder for meetings and upgraded the cameras to cloud storage with live feeds. The AG audit was my ace. If I could get more signatures, they'd prioritize it. The investigation deepened when I found an old neighbor's testimony, my grandpa's friend, confirming the road was always private, with permission only for friends. It debunked historical use. The pieces were falling into place.
The petition hit 30 signatures, more than enough for a special meeting. The HOA bylaws required it within 30 days. Bill delayed with scheduling issues, but Tom threatened a lawsuit and they scheduled for November in the community center. We prepared like a war council. I had the recorder, a projector for clips and budgets, printed packets for attendees. The fighters rehearsed, Mrs. Ellis on fines, Raul on contracts, Mr. Gomez on bylaws. The meeting was packed, 40 people, the room buzzing. Bill opened, dismissing the petition as disruptive. I stood, recorder on. The gate is trespass on my land, I said, projecting the survey. Here's the proof. Remove it. I played clips of trespassing, highlighted the budgets with Reynolds consulting payments, bills profiting from our dues, conflict of interest. The crowd erupted, shouts of thief and audit now. Diane interrupted. This is slander. But the Martins stood, sharing their fine story. More voices joined. Bill banged the gavel. Vote to dismiss. It failed 15 to 25. They agreed to review the gate and finances, but it was a win. The room was against them. After, Bill cornered me. You'll regret this. The next day, my fields were vandalized, fence cut, cows loose. The camera caught a masked figure, truck like Bill's. I reported it, and the deputy patrolled more. Maria was terrified. Jack, stop, it's too dangerous. But I couldn't. The AG accelerated the audit with our evidence. I set the trap, spread a rumor I was selling, baiting Bill to offer again. He emailed a lowball bid, proof of motive. At the audit hearing, we'd expose it all. The AG hearing in Austin was tense. HOA reps, me, 20 supporters. I presented the deed, clips, budgets, Bill's email. They stole my road, I said. Bill defended, but the auditor grilled on payments. Diane admitted shortcuts. The crowd cheered as the auditor recommended revoking the easement, fining the HOA $10,000, and investigating fraud. Bill resigned, the gate removed. The HOA refunded fines, elected new board. My farm was free, the road private. Maria and I toasted with the kids. Justice won.